Um, Next video here, Dear Lost Ark and Smilegate. I think this is from who was it? Sticks? I forget his name. But he's like a big into Lost Ark. He was trying to get a lot of people into it, saying how it wasn't pay to win. Yeah, he was wrong. Super pay to win, super grindy. I really regret buying that and playing. Like I bought one of the pre-purchase packs, whatever it is. Not the most expensive one, thankfully, but man, like I had a lot of fun leveling. But once like you get past a certain point, it's like this game sucks.
Okay. Dear Lost Ark and Smilegate. And you know
Like if you're just looking for challenges in a game, like it's actually a pretty good game, I think.
Stoopzz is serious because he's using Korean hashtags here.
Stoopzz, that's his name. Sorry.
What's going on, everyone? My name
Oh
is
wow, he is in the Korean subtitles.
A Western Lost Ark player.
So he's doing his absolute best. He really wants the people that are watching. Please listen to this.
Damn, he's serious. I've never seen him do that.
You may have seen me on YouTube or
doing
Twitch
the Korean subs and everything.
Just various videos of mine. I'm gonna have this video be translated in Korean for some of the Korean users or watchers that play Lost Ark, just because I think we all play the same game, and I'd like to include you in this conversation.
Okay.
So, just a little backstory about myself. I've been playing Lost Ark for about 1.5 years now. I've played...
What? I'm pretty sure you played it for longer than that, but maybe not on the US. Maybe he's just talking about the US servers.
Korea sometimes. I play on Russia, and I also play in the US, or the Western version. And you know what actually got me into playing Lost Ark was the 2021 Winter Loa-on. That was really the what got me most excited about the game.
The funny thing about what got me into playing Lost Ark is the battle against the dragon with like a 20-person raid, and it's not even in the game anymore.
Yeah, he's right. That trailer was freaking amazing. I didn't know they removed it. That sucks. I thought it was just future content that we just didn't get, and that was disappointment of its own.
So, like, ironically, the only fight that I saw that I thought was really fucking cool is not even in the game. Whatever happened to that? We gotta add that back in.
Was seeing Gold River come on stage and talk about the game.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I thought that was like how the game was normally. It turns out it's really not. It's more like doing mythic pluses and WoW and like stuff like that, which I'm not a big fan of.
And the passion that the developers have for the game, and most importantly, coming from games like World of Warcraft, what got me most excited to play Lost Ark was the direct answers that they would have towards the community's concerns about the game.
Well, yeah,
so Gold River would always take questions that may not have been the easiest questions, and he would talk about them. Regardless of his answer, I always loved that he would address the concerns that players had. And you know, even when Lost Ark was coming out.
Yeah, I think that's why dev blogs, like, they're becoming way more popular among studios because they receive like a lot of positive responses. Because whether you're like, it's something that may not be agreed upon by the player base, it's like at least we know where the thoughts are. Like it's not like, who is thinking this? Why are you thinking this? Like you're actually getting some answers.
Out in the West, there was an interview with like Amazon that was on Twitch.
This is the one where he literally is talking shit about Amazon on the interview live, announcing Amazon publishing his game. He's like, yeah, I mean, we're going to probably have to fix some stuff. Obviously, you know, Amazon publishing, I mean, there's some bullshit. I don't know what's going on over there, guys. I'm going to be honest. But, you know, once they sort their shit out, we'll be fine.
With Gold River at the time.
That's real? Yeah, it is.
And he said, ask me whatever you want. And they had asked about pay to win and all of these things, and he answered them. Now, you may not always like the answer that they have, but they wouldn't go, you know, he wouldn't avoid the question. He would directly address it. And I think that
same as usual.
To
the same as usual.
Oh, no, worse this time because you wanted to get into the gifts.
Oh. I mean, if I recall this interview right, he basically said that the pay to win was there so that they could make like content old, like just release after release with the content. If I'm remembering it right.
Their care and their awareness of the issues.
You know, it's funny. I may go back to the Lost Ark just to kind of check it out. I may not. I don't know. I'm like just saying it. Like I kind of like flinched a little
That the game had.
Yeah, I probably will do that.
And I think that
because it's like if freaking Stoopzz is like, yeah, this is my message to you, like this kind of video. I mean, I want to see what he says, but like that is very troubling.
A lot of companies are always worried to talk about problems with their game because they think if they talk.
I think that's less true, but it is definitely true. Yeah, how to tell people that you have a problem is acknowledge it. If you never acknowledge there's a problem, then all you have are a few people in chat wondering, am I the schizo? Maybe there isn't a problem and I'm just crazy because nobody ever tells me I'm right.
Talk about it. It's going to cause
That's true.
issues and people.
Especially if it's like a problem that's like not like niche, like majority of the player base isn't even really aware of.
We're going to get angry. But I think a lot of video game players and MMORPG players, they're just looking for that in a company. Just the authenticness, the genuineness.
I think anyone who's a consumer would appreciate that. It doesn't have to be games.
The realness, they're looking for that in a developer. And I think Smilegate provided a lot of that. Now, with all of that being said, I really enjoy playing Lost Ark. The main reasons why is I love the raids. I personally really love the community. And most importantly, the combat is so fun.
I think the combat's good. I like the bosses, and it feels good to play. I like the... Honestly, I think a lot of things about Lost Ark are great.
Oh yeah, definitely would agree. Like I had a lot of fun playing the game. I just don't like the amount of grinds in the game, and that like some of the content is just maybe overtuned a bit because it's like unless you have a group of players, you're just doing it randoms. Like it really feels like you're just wasting your time with some of these. Like say you get like a bad group like 3 times in a row, like you just wasted several hours, like maybe an hour or 2.
I like being able to like sail around. I mean, I put a lot.
Oh yeah, like outside of like the like so-called hard content. I mean, it is hard, but it's really not that difficult if you have like the gear for it and like the like decent skilled players. But like the exploration, the collection, like I really did enjoy that kind of stuff.
A lot of time into the game, bro. I did like everything.
There are a lot of issues that I think the game has because the game is only about 4 years old,
of course,
give or take. And when you're making a game and it's a new MMORPG, it takes time to develop a wide plethora or a wide variety of content. And Lost Ark has been doing really well in the raid content, where the raids are generally really fun. The classes are pretty fun to play.
Yeah, they are.
But there is some issues in the gatekeeping aspect for new players to get into the game.
Yep, 100%. And it is intimidating because the fights are actually very skill intensive. While getting gear is actually pretty difficult. Unless you're able to complete these things. So it's like a vicious cycle where it's like, yes, gear makes it easier, but then it's hard to get gear if you're not able to do it unless you spend money.
Well, it's also like just like your casual everyday experience. Like, yes, doing the raids are great, but at the same time, the everyday, day-to-day gameplay of Lost Ark is extremely grindy and mind-numbing to the point where it's not enjoyable.
Yep.
But that the daily routine has a lot to be desired. There are many ways to improve that. And I was looking, you know, to this path.
That, and it feels like exploration, which to me was like the funnest part about Lost Ark. Just go visiting the islands, maybe unlocking something so you can visit more. So like a Metrovania kind of feel to it. It just feels like none of that, like other than the initial part of the game. It'd be like if Vanilla WoW had that and then they never built upon it in any expansion after that, is kind of the feeling I get from it.
Past winter 2022 low on to address a lot of those issues, because I think that Lost Ark has all of these systems. You know, an example could be sailing content. An example could be islands. An example could be storytelling
And
content.
I think sailing content in the islands are great. I did all of them.
Yep.
Fun mini games, etc. There's so many ways for the game to improve, even the side act.
That and they make leveling alts, like leveling alts is no problem, but like getting an alt to where your main is so annoying. It's stupidly grindy. Yeah, it's just awful. I love playing alts, and it just, I think that's what killed it with Lost Ark to me, now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm very big into alts, and obviously Lost Ark like does incentivize it so you can funnel everything to like the main character, but it's like that's not why I want to level an alt. I just want to level them to experience them, have fun with them. But Lost Ark made that like super unfun.
Activities like boss rush, cubes, chaos dungeons, and guardian raids, things that you're supposed to interact with on a daily.
Those, in my opinion, are the most important, because those are the things that everybody does. So if the core gameplay, which is Guardians and Chaos Dungeons, those are the two main things that you do every single day, and honing.
Should do.
That's
Yeah.
how you upgrade your gear in general. If these are bad, the game is bad.
It's also like, it's especially when I played, because I played obviously when it first came out, so it's like huge player base, bunch of people playing, new players. A lot of them were just terrible at the game. They wouldn't learn from their mistakes, and it was just over and over and over to the point it's just like, is this worth it? Like, 'cause you don't get anything for attempting it. I mean, you shouldn't, I guess, but it's like, I don't know. I just felt like I was seriously just completely wasting my time. Like, I could be doing almost anything else and actually progressing.
Or weekly basis.
Like, I could literally like apply for more hours at my job and just fucking pay for the damn mats.
There's so many ways to improve upon those. And when you hear back at the last Loa-on, the winter Loa-on of 2021, they talked about how they were going to focus more on the horizontal content, to have
That's
things
smart.
to do that weren't vertical, right? Raids. Because when you came off of Vaultin, Clown, Vicus, Belshazzar, all of those raids, it was a lot of sorry, it's noisy in my neighborhood. There was a lot of honing an item level to do that content. And I think the problem with Lost Ark is that it was focusing too much on those because they were successful, but they needed to also flesh out and create fun things to do outside of that.
Well, it's also like, how do you get there? If you get there by just repeating the same activity, like, I honestly think the alt system with Lost Ark is so dumb. I don't understand
Yes.
why I have to make more than one character.
And even from a point of view, my point of view, where it's like I like doing that, I don't know, like it just felt like really bad trying to get an alt like to where your main is.
I feel like any game that you have to do things on multiple alts every single time in order to get it, it's like the same as like WoW or whatever. Like with Final Fantasy, it is such a fucking relief that like I do the boss, I didn't get the mount, I just go and do it again. Like,
Yep.
I just go do it again on this character. I don't have to make a new character just to do this. Like, I like playing this character. Let me just keep playing this character.
And when you really think about it, I was
What's also good with Final Fantasy, and back to what I was saying, is like it appeals to both ends, like Asmon's end where he doesn't like making ults, my end where I do like making ults, is that you can farm up gear, or at least like the currency for gear on the like so-called main, and use that on your ults if you wanted to.
when you really think about it, the last Winter Low-on, they said they were going to work on those things.
Yeah.
And they
Well, not feeling like you're hurting your main by doing it. Let me say it that way, because obviously you can do the same in Lost Ark, like send all your stuff from your main, but at the same time it feels like you're punishing your main to try to help out your ult.
they started doing it with the MOD and the islands, storytelling stuff that anyone could enjoy.
And that's actually very good. Some of the island storylines are amazing, and they're
Yes.
incredibly well done, and they're probably some of the best
Super
content
fun.
in the game narrative-wise.
But with that, they were also releasing raids and abyss dungeons, Triangle. Those things add to your daily routine for a player, giving them more homework. And when you add in the side activities that are fun to do, when you really get into the game, you find that you don't have a lot of time to enjoy those things. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, well, you don't have to do all of these things.
But the thing with Lost Ark, it makes you feel like you do, which is, I think, one of the, like, it just feels bad. Like, you feel like you messed up. It's like, so you had, like, guests coming over, and you kept telling yourself to clean up, and then when they come over, you realize you didn't clean them up. It's like, oh my god, what's wrong with me?
I think that, like, not having to do something, this is the same problem that things like Torghast had in WoW.
Yep.
Is that if you put an advantage in the game and then you blame your players for trying to seek that advantage,
Exactly.
that's stupid as fuck, man. Like, you can't just put something in the game and be like, hey, go after this carrot, but if you go after it, then you're stupid for going after the carrot. Well, then don't put the carrot there.
Oh, sorry.
You can do whatever
Like,
you...
my overall opinion is that all player behavior is the developer's fault. So if players are doing something that's like degenerate, it's the developer's fault. If players are exploiting something, it's the developer's fault. Because the developer is God. And if you make a system, then you can't blame players for trying to maximize it.
Yeah, I think the only time that's not true is when it's an obvious bug and you're just trying to take advantage of it. I mean, I'm not saying it's like the player's fault, but it's not really the fault of the devs because they're like, it's not like they did that intentionally. I mean, in a sense, it is their fault because they messed up. But at the same time, it's like, as the player, you know what you're doing is wrong. So,
It's your choice. No one's making you do that. The problem with that is that the game is designed, right? The game is designed for you to do those activities, right? It creates an environment that makes you feel like you have to do that. And that's a design problem. That's not a player problem, right? If you want players to do those other activities, you need to make a system that allows them to feel like they can do that.
It's not really like make them feel like they're doing, just make it fun. Like, just make it where it's not a mandatory thing, where it's like only like what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like, okay, I got to do it because this is like one of the ways to make such and such that I need for leveling up my gear. If there's different ways of getting that, stuff, then it's not that big of a problem because it's like, well, instead of doing this, I'm going to go do this instead.
There's a saying...
Well, that's what the issue is. It's that people feel like they have to keep running chaos dungeons because it provides a tangible benefit to their character.
Yep.
And people care about character progression. If they didn't, they wouldn't be playing Lost Ark.
Exactly. But if they made it where you can get those things doing other stuff that you may have liked more, like the islands and the, traveling on your ship, then it's, that's better.
Lost Ark has...
And I think they do have it to a degree, but it's like extremely simple and honestly gets boring after like a day or two.
Some of the best character progression in any MMO. Like, you have massive, tremendous, huge vertical progression in Lost Ark. You do all kinds of different crazy shit, and it all comes together, and you can make the character really good. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, Lost Ark, I think that's like, unfortunately, like a Korean MMO style. Like MapleStory was very similar in that the power gains you could get in game, whether purchasing or just playing it at a ton or being super efficient, is just insane. Like, you could in MapleStory be the same level as someone, like level wise, but if your gear was good enough, you could literally do like 20 players damage. Like, get 20 people and you by yourself at the same level could do that same level of damage with the right enough gear, which I think is what Lost Ark kind of gets to the point, gets that level 2, where you just keep, getting stronger and stronger and stronger to the point that you're just like soloing things that usually takes a group.
called FOMO in the West, where it's like
Yeah.
fear, like you have a fear that you have to do these things. And yes, that's, you can choose whether you want to go into that or not, but it's also on the developers, the people that design the game, to make it in a way that you don't feel that.
Yeah, exactly. It's the developer's fault because people feel like they're compelled to keep up with this stuff. I know
Yeah.
there's some people saying like not really. Once you get your set, it's minimizing your item level. So let's talk about it. You obviously have your gems, you have your skill point potions, you have all of the other
Tripods.
items like masterpieces and things that are associated with that give you skill point potions like omnium stars, etc., island souls. So
Yeah.
all of these things fit together as well. Then you also have your cards. So your cards you can use that can make your character more powerful or give you different advantages for different situations, like Lost One Cliff, Light of Salvation, or you just use the fucking like the healing thing or like the health thing. You have your tripods as
Jeez.
well. You have your bracelets. Yeah, this is a new thing. I don't really know that very well yet. I'm gonna have to look into it. Yes, you have your credit card. You have your rapport as well. The
Your
rapport
credit card?
sometimes will unlock certain things that are useful.
Your credit
And
card.
of course, I think that
I mean, it's
certain
true.
rapports unlock either a skill point potion or different masterpieces that unlock skill point potions. So like rapport becomes valuable as well. And then you have your ability stones. And
I thought the report system was pretty interesting. Until you like get into it, and it's like insanely grindy.
then you have your engravings and like all of this stuff. And then you level up your set bonuses with the clown raid stuff. Like there's a lot that you do to make your character more powerful. And I think that in general, Lost Ark has done a pretty good job to make me feel good about accomplishing those things. I don't have to level to 60
That's true.
again every single time a new raid comes out. And if I want to play another character, I can just put it in the training arena and I can get the character up to 59 immediately.
Yeah, I mean, getting max level in Lost Ark actually isn't that big of a deal. You can do it in a few hours. I mean, maybe like 6 hours, but it's still like it's not that big of a deal. It's after that.
So I think Lost Ark does a great job at those things.
And I feel like right now, Lost Ark, you know, has so many ways to improve to make it feel like a more complete MMO. And I don't think the solution is just adding new classes, adding new raids. That's gonna.
There's
It needs
enough classes
content.
in the game now. Like
It needs like soloable content, like things you can just do on your own or with a group, like maybe give the option. Because it's like for group content, they're already set. There's a insane amount of group content to the game. And yes, there is some solo content, but it's like it just feels honestly kind of boring after you're done with the islands and stuff.
we don't need more classes in the game. It's enough. We need more content.
Bring people into the game for a little bit, but the daily routine is something that you interact with every single day, and that's
That or there should be rewards for people who are like actually really geared, trying to help low level like new players. Like I don't know, like Final Fantasy kind of does it, not to like a big degree, but at least there is some rewards for doing it. You get like extra materials, or what was it, the currency for stuff, just by being in a group that has a new player in it.
going to stick with you more than just the raid
Support
or
some-
the new
yeah, maybe
class.
more
They may come
supports.
back for
Good
2
point.
weeks for a new class, but they're not going to stay when they find out their daily routine feels
It's the same thing.
monotonous.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
my biggest complaint about the game
because a lot of those dailies are actually kind of fun at first, but like after like a few days, it's just like, man,
more than
not much
anything
change.
is that when a new player gets into the game, you may add in these new card systems. The card system is terrible, by the way. It's an awful system that alienates new players into the game. It takes too long to get them. And I think it's upsetting to me that Smilegate is so El Cheapo. We use the phrase El Cheapo. They're so cheap that they give out one selectable card pack. You
One a
need
year.
90 of them. You need 90 of them to get Light of Salvation 30. Why do you give one? Right?
I actually don't think the cards are that bad.
I think it's not that I don't think the cards are bad. I think it's more like I just didn't give a damn about them. Because to me, I saw them as like a trading card thing. So I'm like, this is obviously just trying to get money out of me. I'm not going to try to care about this. If I get them, great, cool. But I'm not going to worry about it. Which obviously it's like a bad thing because it's like that's a progression of its own. so you want players to care about it.
I really don't. I don't think the cards are that bad. I don't think they're great, but you don't need Light of Salvation for anything. You do not need Light of Salvation for any content in the game as far as I know.
A good, successful, healthy game. And what made Lost Ark different at the start was that they did season 2 and everybody came in and they were at the same area, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was in Punica, everyone was close together. And then as the game progresses, you start separating yourself from new players.
Yeah.
And these new players don't have a way to interact with people. And the solution is not giving them a 1490 Hyper Express, because there's still so much to do after that. And on top of that, you're never going to
And they also don't build up any skill. With the game getting progressively harder, they just skipped basically the tutorial for the new content.
have those 30 cards. And even if you don't have, even if you give them a new free noob, Makoko card set that gives them damage, a existing player, a Light of Salvation 30 player, is going to see that card set and go, I don't want to play with you, because even if you do the same, you have the same cards or they're close, why would I play with you? Because you're new. I don't want to waste my time.
That's not a bad thing. I actually don't think this is a problem with the game at all.
That's a problem with the player base. It's like how Final Fantasy, like having the newbie title, like a lot of players are completely okay with it, and it's even like, oh, I want to help this person because they're new.
I don't think that it is a good thing to hyper incentivize old players and experienced players to carry new players through content. This is not an advantage of a game. This is not something that is to.
I see what he's saying. I just don't think there's anything wrong with it, the incentivization. But like them getting just a card pack that other people's worked for, that's kind of dumb to me. I trying to think here. I don't know. Like, I don't think there's any real solution, because it's like it is a problem, because if you have the barrier to entry to reach the seasoned players too high or too like difficult, then the new players are going to feel like it's hopeless, and they're just going to stop playing.
Be chased after.
Because they're chasing this bar that's like, while they're chasing it, is moving. It's not like they're going to stop releasing content while you're working your way up.
This is not anything positive. For new players, it's a bad thing. I think that what they should do instead is facilitate better ways for new players to experience the content with each other.
I have homework.
I'm not sure what he means by that. It has a group finder that is based on your item level. I'm pretty sure it's based on your item level. I could be off by that, which is basically what he just said, which is obviously not working.
Work to do. I need to finish these raids to get this gold,
Yeah, people don't wanna
because
finish it.
it is a lot of vertical. It's hard to
Well, this is the same with every game, right? I mean, even in
progress
Final
your
Fantasy,
character. It's not
sorry. Even with Final Fantasy, at a lot of cases, you have people that are talking about like, oh, well, this is a fast clear raid. Like, people that they're not joining in this group to do a progression raid. This isn't a blind prog run. This is a, we want to clear this as fast as possible run. But what he's saying is that a lot of the hardcore players feel even more pressed for time because they have to repeat their behavior 6 different times because they're trying to maintain 6 characters and do Legion dailies on every character. Or Legion weeklies on every character. It's insane.
But it's also like with the fast carries and stuff, like if you had incentives, like, whatever currency it drops, because Final Fantasy is known for it's like you get a currency along with whatever loot drops. Say that currency was doubled if you had someone there who had never done it before. Like, why not? Like, then you get fast carries, and then it's like, maybe we'll just bring one noob with us just to carry so we can get that double loot. Or double currency.
I'll be right back. I need to use the bathroom. Give me a.
I mean, it could be an issue. I just don't see. I don't see how, even if it's not a positive, it wouldn't be a negative either.
Second. It's 18 Legion raids per week. It's not compared to Final Fantasy. Yeah, and I think that point is very good. That because they have so many responsibilities in Lost Ark, people feel even more compelled to min-max because it's a time.
And there's no real cap. Like you just keep pushing your character more and more and more up that power ladder. So it's like with Final Fantasy, you do hit a cap like pretty easily. Like it's not too difficult to like get best gear, like best in slot. So, but Lost Ark, it's an insane grind to get that.
Like, how many of you guys have itemized your time in Lost Ark and thought to yourself, it's better for me to do X than Y, or it's better for me to spend.
It's also that case. People do that, especially in games like Lost Ark, where you can literally buy power. So it's like, okay, well, I can do this,
Under the
or just
Oreos,
spend like $3.
Spend $10 and play for 10 hours.
on the
How many of you
counter.
guys have done that? Because I've done that many times, like with items and also with buying stuff. Just a minute. Back in like 2 minutes.
Which is surprising because I mean he's a millionaire.
Sorry.
But then again, Asmon, like with the money he has, is still like pretty stingy. Not stingy, but like careful maybe. I'm not sure the right word for it. Basically, he just doesn't feel like he doesn't want to waste it. I think they would edit this out in this video. They almost always edit this out.
Character to get
Oh.
that bull.
Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. Did you wash your feet? Wash your hands?
Wash your
Bro,
feet.
can y'all stop? Yeah, I'm 2 kilograms lighter, something like that. All right, let's keep going. We're gonna watch the rest of this.
Easy. You need to have these characters if you want to do Boldyke or Theamine or Kazaros raid. You need to progress your character to get there,
Yeah,
and
of
it's not
course.
easy to do. And in order to do that without spending money, you got to play the game, right? And so I think the solution to that is to get these people to play together, right? Is not helping them go up in item level. It does help, but the real solution is including activities in the game that allow new players to interact with existing players, whether it be
Well, the other problem is also that like the Legion raids are designed in a way that players have to actually be there, and if you have like one player who's not there, sometimes you have a wipe.
Yeah, they have too many. I remember running into that quite a bit, where if one player doesn't really know the mechanics or isn't doing them properly, everyone's dead.
And this is what the issue is.
It's just
Is
frustrating.
that the raids are designed in a way that it's harder to carry people. Because people are trying to like buy carries and shit like that for them. Well, guess what? Whenever you make it to where if one person makes a mistake, everybody dies, then yeah, guess what? Everybody's going to be super selective with who they want to play with.
Yep.
Because they don't want to have the one guy that makes a mistake and causes everybody to wipe. How is it? It's fucking common sense. How do you, like, this is the same thing that happened with WoW.
Yeah, those kind of mechanics should only be in like intended group content with like guilds or friends. Like basically, like WoW's mythic rating. Like that is not intended as a pickup group or LFG kind of thing situation. Those kind of mechanics where one person messes up, kills everyone, should only be in those types of situations. Because that way it's like, okay, well, if he keeps messing up, he gets replaced. You know what I mean? Or gets kicked out of the guild or whatever it is. But with a solo player, you don't really have that choice of kicking them and replacing them.
It's like we can't have fun. Well, that's the thing. And it's like, who the fuck wipes? Yeah, a lot of people do. And the reason why raids like Nax, for example, and like Classic WoW and Classic Wrath now are so popular is because that's not the way it works. One person dies, they die, it's fine. That's why I think Vaulton is such a good raid. Yes, obviously having everybody alive makes it a lot fucking easier, but you can solo that boss if you want to. And I'm not saying that every boss should be soloable, but I think that the design of making a bunch of content and a bunch of challenges that it's like, oh, well, if you do this wrong.
Basically, the whole group is punished when you have a bad player. But the problem is that bad player is a stranger. So it's like this stranger is now the reason why you're being punished. And there's nothing you can do because you're not that stranger. You learning to fight better is not helping the stranger. And you can try to help them, but it's not a guarantee it will work.
Long, everybody dies. This is boring. And it makes it to where people want to exclude anybody who hasn't done it 10 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Crafting, profession.
It's like I think Old War was like that, or it could be like a different raid I'm thinking of, where if you didn't have the achievements, you wouldn't be allowed in.
New island events that come up that are rewarding for both people, right? Where you go to an island and it actually gives you useful stuff, useful materials, but you don't care what their engravings are or what their cards are. It's just you need people there. You need to be surrounded by a lot of people. And by doing that...
Well, there are islands like that, like the Spider Island and the other ones where like everybody is like capped at a certain item level. Yeah, this does exist in Lost Ark.
May not seem cool to the existing player, but for a new player to feel like they have a use case, they're useful in the community, is a great way to keep players in the game, engaged in the game, rather than feeling disconnected from the game. Right? And so there's so many things like that.
And that's why I think PvE is just so more popular than PvP. Because in PvP, like it's very easy to feel useless, especially if like there are healers in a game. You know, you're fighting something, you're damaging it, and then it starts healing. You know, so the healer is like healing them up. Feels like you're not doing anything, right? And then maybe you lose, and during that fight, all the damage you did was healed. While in PvE, bosses don't really heal. I mean, maybe they have some mechanics like that, but it's actually like they're pretty rare. I think most of the time they're not like received that well either.
This is just an example.
So it's like, even if you're not that good of a player, you know, okay, but I was doing damage the whole time, or I was doing damage before I died. So you're still contributing to the fight.
I think of good game design. There's so many things of that. And what upset me about this Winter Loan is not that Gold River isn't there anymore. He comes on stage for 5 minutes, like whatever, right?
Okay.
It's not that I don't like the three, you know, expertise, domination, and endurance, or crit swiftness, or, you know, specialty. It's not that I don't like those guys. It's that Gold River would approach these issues head on and talk about them. And these guys maybe are nervous to talk about them, or the approach has changed, but that's what made Lost Ark popular. Coming from MapleStory and Lineage and all of these other games in Korea, Lost Ark felt different, right? And
yeah, that's true. Almost every other MMO studio like had like a gag order of sorts, I guess. Like you literally heard like nothing from the development team.
Community liked that. That's your biggest selling point. That's what makes Final Fantasy popular. That's what makes other games popular.
That's true.
When the people feel like
they feel like the developers are playing the game. Like a good example of this is like Final Fantasy. Like you have combo attacks where it's like you hit 1, 2, and then 3, and like 1 lights up, then 2 lights up, then 3 lights up. Right? It's like one of these things. And if you do a ranged attack, the way it used to work is that the ranged attack would break that combo. So if you were at 1, 2, and then you did range attack, you had to go back down to 1, 2 again. But then the developers played the game and they're like, this kind of sucks. Let's just go ahead and let this not interrupt the combos. And it just made the game better. Simple as that. So I think that's why people like it, is because they want to feel like the developers are playing the same game. So if the players are having an issue, they can expect that it will be solved because the developers will be having the same issue.
People, the directors care. And you can't just say that we've been playing, you know, these guys said that we've been working on the game for 10 years and everyone cares. Okay, show us that you care by addressing the concerns. You can say that you care all you want, and I believe that you care, but you can't be scared to talk about the issues that the game has. And you need to focus on those issues rather.
I mean, it's not that you think they don't care. It's also like it's a case where you start to think that like they don't even understand. Like, this is why it's bad. Why don't they understand? Why aren't they changing it? It's like you start second guessing, like they're out of touch. like, which is really not what you want your fan base to think about you.
Rather than focusing on the other stuff. Okay, you don't want to reduce the homework. Fine, but talk
I
about.
think that's a huge issue. Like having to level up alts to do the same activities over and over and over. I don't care how they do things in Korea. I'm not in Korea. There's a Western version of the game that is not in Korea.
Yeah,
Make the Western version better.
different.
Instead of just being like, oh, that's
So
just
if the
bare
Koreans
minimum.
like it, then
Also,
fine.
to me, it shows major disconnect in the game that you say it's the bare minimum, because you're adding more to the bare minimum. You know, you're not making it. And then last thing that I want to say, just from a game design philosophy, and I don't want anyone to get upset with me, it doesn't make sense to do the exact same activity twice in a row, right? Why do I?
He's right. He's 100% right about this. You should not have to do 2 Guardian raids. Because if you are
Yeah.
min-maxing on Guardian raids, logically you will want to do the highest level Guardian 2 times. So doing the most efficient thing,
Especially when they're putting you in random groups, if you're like a soloish player, like doing it twice just means you have to now get lucky twice with a group that at least knows a bit what they're doing. Because there are some Guardian raids where it's like if people aren't really doing what they're supposed to, the fight becomes way, way harder.
is boring, that means it's the game developer's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing 2 Torghast, also boring.
Go into a chaos dungeon, leave, go back again. I'm already in there. I'm already in the chaos dungeon. Why do I have to exit and then go back? Why do I have to fight, Hanu 2 times, or Carl Elagos 2 times, or what is that stupid tree's name? I can't remember his. Sonneveld 2 times. Just make Sonneveld 50% stronger, and I do it once.
I
Make
don't
chaos
know about
dungeons
that.
bigger.
Or you could just make it once and double the reward. I don't see the big deal in that. Like, why do you have to make the content harder? Like, isn't that the point? Is that it feels like you're wasting time. So like, okay, you make twice as hard. Like basically you keep the amount of time it would take, but reduce the actual instances of you entering it. It's still gonna feel bad. Like I don't know. That feels like he's just like, okay, let's meet halfway kind of thing. But it's like there's no reason to meet halfway on like a dumb system.
More mobs, and you do it one time.
Yeah.
Right? It's
I mean
better.
the more mobs one I don't mind, because that part is actually kind of fun where you're just deleting groups of mobs. I think a lot of people when it ends is like a bit like, oh, I was just really getting into it.
Design. Why do I leave and then go back, right? So these are the things that I want developers thinking about on the game that I'm playing, right? Thinking about, not, you don't have to agree, but I want you to think about it and talk about your thoughts regarding that. Because if I'm thinking about it, there's no way that the people that get paid, which they're probably not getting paid a lot, I understand that, but the people that are getting paid don't think about it. So talk about it, right? Address these issues. Address the new player concerns. You want Lost Ark. And the last thing that I will say, as a Western player, we play the game a lot. Some of us play the game more than people in the KR version. We put in a lot of hours, and some of us now have been playing the game so much that we're almost caught up in hours. How many hours we've been playing the game? A lot of us are very hardcore enthusiast players.
Yeah, it's the same everywhere.
Okay?
I think he was saying that just to like get it out of the way. Like, look, we're not like pussies. Like, we play the game, we put in the hours. Like, this isn't a case where Westerners are like not good at games or not willing to invest time. I think that's basically what he was trying to like say.
To not spend 5 minutes to talk about the other versions of the game. Don't sit up there and say it's a global game. How could you say it's a global game when you don't even spend 5 minutes talking about the global versions?
That's a good point.
Yep.
Yep. What he's saying here is a very good point. The Lost Ark respects your time. I think
No,
that
it
Lost
doesn't.
Ark respected your time more than like WoW and BFA did, or like WoW and Shadowlands did. Sure, like, and there are a lot of ways that Lost Ark does unironically support and respect your time. Like, if you get all of your skill point potions, you have that on your entire account. You never have to do it again.
That part, yeah, is
Absolutely.
good.
There are a lot of cases where that is true, but there are also a lot of cases where that is not true. The issue
Yep.
is that the ways that it respects your time are one time only, and the ways that it does not respect your time are day-to-day grinds. So the day-to-day grinds are just pointless, mind-numbing, and time-consuming for no reason, but the one-time content is actually pretty good.
Okay, and then all
I
that you
mean,
mentioned, it takes 5
it also could be. It is pretty good because it was a one-time thing.
minutes. Just some word, like just a word, guys. This is just. It's free marketing. It's free to just say, hey, we really appreciate you guys playing our game in the West. We're excited for the next year. Anything. You don't. I know it's a KR event, but you have subtitles for us to understand. And the one thing that you did translate correctly was these rewards are only for KR players. You don't have to give us anything, but not acknowledging us is insane. It's bad marketing. It's not good. It's not a good look. It's going to make people upset. You don't even have to say anything. Like, don't say that. Don't put the text on the screen that it's only for KR players. Just don't.
I don't really give a fuck about this. I just want them to fix the boring shit in the game and make it to where people don't have to play the game 6 hours a day to compete with somebody who spends $6 a day.
Exactly. I think most players would be on Asmon's side, but I do think Stoopzz, anyone who's going to be like part of the community with Lost Ark, I think it would agree more on Stoopzz end. I think they're both right.
That's the problem. I don't give a fuck about, like, oh, if they respect us. I don't care about that shit. Who cares if they live on the other side of the world? I don't care about them. Like, just make the game good. We don't need to have a fucking get together where we all jerk each other off. Let's just go ahead and make the game good.
Say anything. It's better than saying that. So
I can see what he's saying. Like,
it's
and I think that the Lost Ark Western players do feel very neglected. And this has been a problem, I think, not only with Smilegate, but also Amazon.
upsetting to me because why I started playing
Yeah.
the game was because of the old approach that Smilegate had at Winter Loan. That's what got me playing the game. Not that. That was not, great event. The music was amazing. I love Stormcaster. It was great seeing Gold River. The new content plans, I love it. I personally like the MOD. I like AOS. The MOBA Lost Ark, we need more of that because anyone can do that. And just because
I don't know if that's something that they should really focus on because, like, whatever the Lost Ark version of League of Legends is never going to be better than League of Legends.
Or bigger.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice that they have this thing that people who like the game can play this, and it's kind of like other games. But really, you should start doing something that, like, what is Lost Ark good at? Lost Ark is really good at putting you in combat with a giant fucking dragon, having you kill that dragon, and look fucking badass doing it.
That or have you surrounded by enemies and then you make them all literally like explode. Like the visual effects and the combat in Lost Ark are just top notch.
That's what it's really
And the more chances it gives you of being able to do that, I think just would be better.
good at. So just do that. More dragons, more titties. That's actually about it.
Like that,
90% of people
like what they talked about in the beginning of the trailer, that Asmon saw, like I think most people saw it too, where you're fighting that dragon with a bunch of people. Like, yeah, just make stuff like that, man. Like, I think that's what really messed with, like, with Lost Ark. I think they really kind of missed on was like, being able to do things with a bunch of people, like the world bosses and stuff, those are really fun. Like you don't feel like even if you're low geared, that you're still not at least contributing a bit, you know, because you're doing damage. You may not be doing anywhere near like a whale's damage, but you're still putting in something into the fight.
People won't do it because they don't want to and they don't care doesn't mean it shouldn't be in the game for the 10% of people that are new to the game that have an opportunity to do something fun where they're not going to get gate kept, where they're not going to get pushed away because they're a Makoko.
Am I crazy for thinking what I think about like the raids? How like if you have a raid where there's like 1 point of failure across 8 people that have to make split-second decisions for 3 minutes straight that will result in the wipe of the entire group, will cause people to gatekeep way harder because if one person makes a mistake, it's more serious than in other games. I think that there was way less gatekeeping on Vaulton because if somebody was garbage, who gives a fuck? We'll just bring somebody else and they'll just get carried through it. On Vicus, it's way fucking harder. You can't do that. And on the Clown Raid, it's the same thing. You have one person die, you got to restart the fucking fight.
Or it's a case where like one person dies, you don't have the DPS to break the bubble that will wipe the group.
Like, yeah, you can have somebody die in like that fucking epilogue phase or whatever, where like you're doing the bingo thing. But other than that, you can't fucking do any of that stuff. So I think that's absolutely, fights would be way too easy. No, they wouldn't. What do you mean they would be way too easy? Vaulton, the difficulty of a fight is not related to its quality. I think Vaulton's the best fight in Lost Ark. It's also the easiest one. But I think it's the best fight. I think it's the most thematic. It's the most interesting. It's cool. And that's all there is to it. Now, I think the Clown Raid is a close second. I do. But also with the Clown Raid, you only have to worry about 4 people and not 8.
Right? We need more of that, but you need to talk about the problems that people are experiencing. Ignoring them, not a good look, and upsetting for me as a Western player to not be acknowledged at all during the presentation. Who's supposed to acknowledge us? Think about it this way. If you're a Korean viewer listening to this right now, think about it this way. We experience the same problems that you do. Probably worse. We have bots too, right? Insane amount of bots. But we experience the same homework, the same grind, the same learning, everything.
That's also another thing, like, yes, they make buying materials a bit cheaper with botting. It also makes any, like, of your gains feel just less. Like, man, I could have just bought this. It took me like an hour to do this, but it was only like literally like 50 cents if I just paid money.
Everything is the same, but then we can't tell anybody to help us because Amazon publishes.
It does suck, right? And I wish I could just, yes, if Gold River or somebody at Smilegate just had a Twitter and I could tweet at them, hey, idiot, how fun is it to just kill the same fucking dog 2 times a day? Oh, wow, 2 Guardian raids? Oh, let's kill the same guy twice. Oh, we got to kill the gorilla 2 times. Oh, how fun. Great. Oh, it's the turtle. We got to kill turtle now. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I wish we could communicate with them better. That would be great.
Is the game.
That, or if Amazon had the freedom to like have Lost Scar or Smilegate make active changes to the global release. Like, hey, we're getting a lot of feedback here. Our players are asking if we can just have it to just 1 Guardian raid and Chaos Abyss dungeon kind of thing. Just double the rewards or something like that. So it feels like you're progressing the same, but you're not having to do double the same thing over and over.
They do marketing. They don't do design. They don't design the game. So how do we get our feedback heard? How do we know you're listening?
Yeah.
How do we know that we're being heard?
I think you can argue that they're probably not listening at all because they don't speak English.
I mean, that's true.
It's the same as Tower of Fantasy. Like, they don't speak English. Like,
yeah, that's why I'm not really hopeful for games that are released overseas, where they're the ones making all the major decisions on how the game is going to go forward. Because I'm just like, okay, well, unless like your player base is like on the more Western end where we're just not really into the grind as much, I'm going to expect you to play exactly like any other game from that region. Lost Ark, like I didn't expect anything
It's not even.
great out of Lost Ark. When I got it, I thought I'd get, some fun out of it because it was like, Diablo-like ARPG, so I figured I'd definitely give it a try. And it was really fun. But like as a long term, like this is gonna be my main game. No way. Not unless Amazon was able to show that they could actually make get Smilegate to make changes that would reflect their player base, American player base, or Western or whatever global.
Even their fault. It's just the way it is.
The topic, and how do we know that you even care if you don't acknowledge us? It's upsetting. It's upsetting. It's annoying. I've been here before with other games, and I'm upset that
Maple Story
they
probably,
did that there.
or
Great
Lineage.
show, production-wise, cool event, bad questions, and bad approach to addressing player concerns. Wasn't good. So just some feedback there. And again, I love the game. I love the community. You can do better than that. Be more confident in talking about stuff, even if people don't agree. You should be confident in doing that. It's your game at the end of the day. And that's what made you guys successful, I think, in the first place. So
I don't know if it made them
that's the
successful,
video.
but it definitely made them popular, or
All right, there
it
it
added
is.
to their
And
success,
so
I should
anyway,
say.
let's go back over. I'll talk about this a little bit, and we'll get into this specifically and talk about it. I think this is a great video. I think that Stoopzz is really talking about how it makes him feel.
It's also a case, like Stoopzz is like I said, like really into the game. So if he's having this kind of concerns, it should concern even the casual player.
Much more so than the actual design of the game. I think that that's really what the focus is. It's like this is how playing the game makes you feel, etc. Give him a like, give him a sub. This is, I guess, his Clips channel, which is a secondary one. I'll go ahead and do the same myself. So I don't have to do horizontal content, but I also do have to do horizontal content so I'm playing raids, feel comfortable, like wealth runes for Reaper, etc. Well, yeah, but that's one-time only stuff. And I think that the one-time only stuff is really not that big of a fucking deal. Like, if you get, like, for example, getting level 60 and getting all of your skill points, I think that that grind is probably good. I don't mind that grind. As an MMO player, I enjoy that. I think that's good. And also points.
I didn't catch that. What grind?
And I think that the one-time only stuff is really not that big of a fucking deal. Like,
Yeah.
if you get, like, for example, getting level 60 and getting all of your skill points, I think that that grind is probably good. I don't mind that grind. As an MMO player,
Yeah, because it's a one-time thing.
That's
yeah.
good. And also, like, let's talk about some other things. Gatekeeping. Gatekeeping in Lost Ark happens for two reasons. Reason number one is because raids are so ball-busting, dick-twisting, fucking nipple-biting punishing that, or nipple-biting all the way off, okay? In case you wanted to think you were into that, you're not into this. Like, it is bad. Absolutely fucking awful. Whenever you go in there, you've got 4 fucking people, 8 people, one person does something wrong 6 minutes into the fight, and everybody's dead.
Yep.
Well, of course you're gonna be.
Or even worse, you got 2 people out of the 4 not doing it right. It's just like, oh my god, I'm just leaving. Like, it just...
Gatekeepy. Well, you don't want somebody to do that wrong. Like, you don't want to have to sit there and watch them learn this over and over and over until they get it right. Yeah, that's what the issue is. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that people are trying to maximize for time. So it's the same thing with Guardian raids. People don't want to wait for a wipe in a Guardian raid. They just leave the group and find another group.
Yep.
That's just because they're trying to do it 18 times in one day, and they don't want to waste their fucking time. What's the solution? You want to hear what the fucking solution is? I'll tell you. So the solution to this problem is actually incredibly simple.
Make it easier. Make it where mechanics aren't, like, literally killing... Like, a single player's mistake should not make the fight impossible.
You just stop making mechanics that if one person does it wrong, it kills the raid.
Yep.
Stop designing the game to counteract busing. This is not that big of a problem.
Yeah, especially in a game where you can literally just buy power. I don't see any reason why they should be having mechanics that decentivize busing, where you're carrying people. Like, why? If they could pay you for the carry, they could probably just pay for the gear too, but they want to play the game. There's nothing wrong with that.
It doesn't matter. If people want to spend gold to get carried through the content, who gives a fuck? Save that stuff for hell mode.
That, and it makes those who can carry like more incentivized just to join random groups, because it's like, okay, yeah, they can go in speedrun groups, but at the same time, if they know they can solo it, they're just like, forget it, I'm just gonna join a random. If they suck, I know I can still do it.
Yeah, but just stop doing that. Then it's too easy for people to communicate, no challenge. Is it too easy? So you're saying it's too easy if you don't have mechanics, that if one person does it wrong, then the whole raid wipes? I don't really think that's true. Yeah, I don't think that's true at all. Yeah, I like the mechanics. I think that's silly. You don't want to challenge from homework. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Is that if people are trying to do this content over.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like, there's nothing wrong with having, like, wanting that kind of level of challenge. Fine, that's up to you. But the problem is, like, you're forcing that on the entire player base instead of keeping it where it needs to be, which is like a niche thing. Like, have like the WoW Mythic rating, like stuff like that, where it's like super hard content, you know, meant to really challenge players, but is absolutely not necessary to gear up. Like, maybe obviously getting like the best of the best, but like even getting like third best, like you can't really do that with Lost Ark. Like, even like getting to like, I don't even know, like say there's 10 tiers, like tier 10 is being the best, tier 1 being like just hitting 70. Like getting to tier like 2 or 3, like you're doing mechanics that will wipe the group if you mess up.
And over, they don't want to have to sit there and wipe while somebody learns to figure it out. They said they're stopping the one-shot mechanics. I don't think there's one in a con. They said so far for Thamine. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good, but that's why you have gatekeeping.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
That's exactly
It's
right.
like, if you create content that one person does it wrong, everybody dies.
Or if it makes it too, like, really, really hard as well. Like, too hard, basically, where it's like, okay, well, now one of the 4 people die. The 3 people have to play perfectly, otherwise everyone dies. It should really be a case where it's like 1 or 2 people can play perfectly, and then you can still get through the fight. I think just 1. Basically making it soloable, but make it where it's like pretty dang hard if you have to solo it.
If you create that type of content, you will have gatekeeping. So you either do that content and have gatekeeping, or don't do it and you don't have gatekeeping. It's that simple.
Yeah, because you're not going to change the player's behavior with that. The only way you're going to change it, and it's going to be insanely frustrating for players, is if you lock them for 24 hours. You can't do the content with anyone else but that group, which would be insane.
Is FOMO, if you have to do 18 Legion raids a week, time is money? That's true. I think that the amount of times that players have to do raids and have to do like all these chores in the game is too much. Like,
Yeah.
They should just make it to where you can do it on one character and get like 80% of the rewards that somebody would get for doing it on all their alts. I think that incentivizing people to play the same content 8 times a week is not good for the game. And I don't care if somebody works harder and they deserve it. I don't care. It's bad for the game. It creates a unhealthy relationship with the game, and it causes people to burn themselves out. So,
yeah, and then they quit. Makes the game just, you just lost a player.
So stop doing it. Why design the game in a way that players want to focus on burning themselves out? Also promotes botting. Yes, it is.
Yeah, the botting scene is just way too, like, I don't think I think about it now, it's like, I'm not going to get into Lost Ark unless I hear any news on them curtailing the bots. If they never do it, then I guess I'll never play.
Mythic Plus caps out, right? The gear caps out. You can do Mythic Plus, and after you get the gear from Mythic Plus, you're done. You don't have to keep doing it.
Also, you don't need. It would be like if WoW take away like the Mythic Plus or Mythic rating from the 0 to like 10, and it went from normal raids to Mythic plus 10. No raid. I'm sorry, not normal raids. Normal dungeons to Mythic plus 10 dungeons. And then you have the same with like the rating. Imagine if they took away normal and heroic and they just had Mythic. Like how many people would want to be involved in endgame?
I think the opposite. I think make all materials non-roster bound. Yeah, I don't think you should have things be roster bound at all. Like the items roster bound and not character bound? Wouldn't it be the opposite if you wanted to do this? Make them all character bound, and that way you wouldn't feel like you had to play a bunch of alts just to like make your main more powerful? I don't know.
I was actually thinking that when he said like 80% of the total of like all the characters that you normally would be playing on alts, just earn it once on that character. But I think after, like, if that's the case, that's fine. Like, I actually prefer that. But also make a character bound so you can go on your ults. You still want to play your ults to level them up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not playing them to level your main, but you can level them to level them up.
Games designed around bot farms making money from whales. But the problem is, like in Korea, that's not the way it works because they all have real ID for logging onto the internet. So they don't have a botting problem over there hardly at all.
Yeah. From what I heard, it's mostly the global.
Vaulton are not challenging. That's what I'm saying. Well, yeah, but there's like a mode of doing Vaulton that is challenging. There's like hell mode for Vaulton. So like, why not save the, if one person does it wrong, the entire raid wipes, why not save those mechanics for the actual hard modes of the fight, then make the entire fight work that way? I think, again, you're designing the game around preventing bussing, and that's okay. If you want to do that, that's fine. But you're going to have gatekeeping. You're going to have massive, like,
hardcore,
unapologetic gatekeeping in the game.
Super toxic.
And it will only get worse.
Yep.
That's just what's going to happen. Like, it's common sense. It's just like human psychology. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, it only makes sense. So it's like, can't really do anything about it. That was Dear Lost Ark and Smilegate. And this is why I like watching videos with Asmon's opinions on here. Because it's like, Stoopzz talked a little about it, but honestly, he wasn't really addressing any of the, like, the core issues with it. And what a lot of casual players have issues with, like newer players. But obviously, I mean, he's like, you know, pretty hardcore into it. Like, I don't see how he would, other than like the one time he was new. So it's, I mean, it makes sense, but I think similar to like Asmon, because I've played multiple MMOs, like it's easier to see like these kind of issues. So very cool video.